Okay, Candice, our question for this episode is what Walt Disney World area restaurant that you have never been to do you want to go to the most?
That's a really good question because there's a lot.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot we haven't been.
Yes. Okay, so while it's not technically a Disney restaurant, but it is on Disney property, I really want to go to Art Smith's Homecoming.
Yeah.
For brunch.
Yeah, do that. Their daily brunch or whatever it is.
The weekend brunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biscuits and
I
gravy.
am so there
and-
for those
yeah.
biscuits. I mean, they could just hand me a couple biscuits. I'd be happy.
Right. Just go in and sit at the bar and say, "Can I just have drinks and biscuits, please?"
They would probably say, yes, you can.
I want some moonshine and some biscuits.
That sounds healthy.
Right? Okay. So I was thinking a little bit about the restaurant that I most want to try. And I think for me, I'm going to go really bougie and fancy, but I can't remember the name of it, so you have to help me.
Okay, I'll try.
It's the newest place in the Japan Pavilion.
Takumite.
Yeah, Takumite. That experience, you know me, I'm an experiential person. And just that idea of that entire experience of how they do that meal, I'm sure the food is delicious, but just the overall atmosphere, ambiance, food, service, all of those things, just at some point I have to try that.
I'm down. I'm down, even though it is like a 3-hour experience, I believe, from what I've heard. But sometimes the best things are long experiences. And
Right.
I think people are too quick to discount them for the sake of getting back to the rides.
Right, exactly.
There's more to do, people. There's more to do.
Exactly. And you and I have proven that we don't mind paying an exorbitant cover charge to get into a bar for a few hours.
Precisely.
So it's all good. Hi, I'm Scott.
I'm Candice.
I'm Lacey. And I'm Lariah. Grab a drink and come hang with us at the Hangar Bar.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Hangar Bar. You are with Scott and Candice today.
Woot woot.
And today we are going to, I think we're both kind of feeling the miss of Disney
For sure.
at this point. We do have some plans to maybe get there later this year again, which is exciting because that'll be twice in 1 year, but not 100% sure on that yet.
Right.
But so to help kind of curb our homesickness, as it were, we are going to flash back to our most recent trip in February, and we're going to talk through some of the foods that we tried and some of the restaurants that we experienced during that time.
Yeah, for sure. We did the Disney After Dark episode where I think we touched on all the places that we went, but we really didn't dig into the food. We didn't really dig into the restaurants, what we liked about them, what we didn't, except for some high-level things. So we thought it would be good to come back and talk through that. But before we get into that, how exciting was last week's episode?
Oh my gosh. I mean, beyond anything that I ever would have expected.
Right? It just, that conversation was one of the reasons why we got into podcasting.
100%.
And why we decided to do what we're doing. Yes, it's 4 friends getting together to talk about Disney because we just love doing it. But now that we're a little bit more seasoned, we're growing a little bit, some of the opportunities that we're getting and the people that we're meeting are just...
And I'm so, so grateful.
Yeah.
So, so grateful, especially for folks like James and Theron who are so giving. And
Yeah, so thank you for listening. Go out and buy How Does Disney Do That book if you haven't already. And remember, come out to our post from last week's episode and make sure you're commenting.
First of all, listen.
Right, listen to it and find out how you can win a signed copy of How Does Disney Do That by by James Warda and Theron Skis. So make sure you're listening for that. Okay, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Let's jump into Disney World food.
All right. I think we've kind of beat this to death, but I'll say it again for anybody that's new here. And if you are new here, welcome. Welcome to the Hangar Bar. We are glad to have you as part of the crew. We are basically a Disney-based podcast hosted by 4 friends from the Midwest who absolutely adore Disney. We are all child-free. So we've got that perspective, which I think is a little bit different than some, not all, but some.
Agreed.
We kind of run a gamut of ages
Yeah.
in the crew. So
We've got Gen X, Millennial, and I think even Gen Z represented.
Yeah.
So
anyway, going back to what I was saying, when we arrive at Disney World, we don't go directly into a park. My personality type is that of an introvert. So by the time, because we're not close enough to drive in any reasonable amount of time, I mean, we've done it, but it takes days. So by the time we've spent the entire day or most of the day in airports, in planes, messing with all of that sorts of humanity, I need a little bit of a break before I would even consider going into a theme park. So our jam typically is to get checked into our hotel, grab a bite, and then head to Disney Springs for the first part of that day.
Yes.
And slowly immerse into the magic rather than just hitting it full steam ahead.
Right.
Our February trip was a group trip with friends, and that was actually no different than how we've ever done it before. We got checked into the beach club, which I'm a little spoiled now, I gotta say.
It's going to be hard for me to stay anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, 123 steps to the International Gateway of Epcot. Come
Right.
on. But we did end up going to the Marketplace, which is their quick service option at the beach club. And we got some of their delicious bacon mac and cheese topped with goldfish crackers and green onions.
And I will tell you what, that was better mac and cheese than I thought it was going to be.
Yes. Yes, for a quick service option, I thought it was stellar.
Yeah.
And it was a huge portion. Like, we both ate on that, and I think didn't finish it all.
I think we did finish it.
Okay. Well, I know I was very full.
Yeah. Knowing that we were in a couple hours then leaving to go eat, that it probably was too big of a portion for us.
But we hadn't eaten that day.
No.
Other than plain snacks, which leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah, we had like a breakfast bar and some pretzels, and that was all we'd eaten. So we were pretty hungry.
Yeah. But I thought that, I also thought it was really well done. Like, it didn't taste mass produced.
Right.
It didn't taste like it was just thrown together. It tasted kind of homemade.
Yeah. Yeah, it shocked me for basically what is fast food mac and cheese. It was delicious.
Yeah, and the addition of goldfish crackers on top. Hello.
Yeah, and then adding bacon to anything makes it better.
Well, of course.
So,
of course.
Highly recommend it if you're at the beach club and you just want something quick service. That's what I would go after again.
Yep. Now, as a reminder, for those of you that have been with us for a while, we did use the revamped Disney dining plan on that trip. And I guess we can talk about that kind of at the end, like more of our thoughts and a review, because I know we've talked about that a little bit, but I think it's worth a revisit.
Yeah, we can do that if we get to the end and we feel like we have time.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else about the mac and cheese?
No, I don't think so. Well, let me say this. I don't think it's something that I would make a trip to the beach club for.
No.
But if you're there, you need a bite, it is the thing to get off of that menu.
Yes, I would agree. And there's a couple different varieties. Like, they have the plain mac and cheese, which, whatever. If that's your jam, that's your jam. And then I think they have one with beef or something too.
Yeah,
I can't
like pulled
remember.
pork or something like that.
Yeah. But yes, give it a try. Or if you have tried it, let us know what you think. Come to our socials and let us know what you thought of it.
Yeah.
Because we thought it was really good.
Yep.
All right. And then we would have been remiss, even though we were full, one of the big headliners of Beach Club and Yacht Club, for that matter, is Beaches and Cream.
Yes.
And knowing the person that I'm married to and his theory that there's always room for ice cream because it just slides in around the edges.
Yep. Just fills in the empty space.
We had to go to Beaches and Cream.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. And we ended up that day with a double scoop of their hand-churned strawberry, which I am a strawberry ice cream girly. I mean, it's not my favorite flavor, but that was really good.
It is my favorite ice cream flavor, and typically strawberry ice cream that you get is kind of has some of that fake strawberry taste to it.
It's not.
Like made with strawberry quick or whatever, but this was delicious. You could tell that it was hand churned. It was creamy. It was delicious.
There's chunks of strawberry
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah, spoiler alert, we might talk about Beaches and Cream again as we go through the trip, but everything we had there was great.
Yes. And we got it in a waffle cone, which that part kind of underwhelmed me, I think, because I was expecting like the normal big waffle cones that you
Oh.
get, and it was just like a regular like sugar cone size
Right.
waffle cone, which was fine because we got it in a dish because hello, Florida.
Right.
Yeah. But it was just a little surprising.
Yeah. I would agree. I was expecting like the big kind of one that feels homemade. This didn't feel homemade. It felt mass produced.
Yes.
And so Beaches and Cream is one of those places that a lot of people will take time out of their trip to go over to Beach Club to go to because they're the ones that have the kitchen sink.
Yes.
Sunday.
And, I mean, they do have like a table service restaurant
Right.
that you can get reservations. Any table service restaurant, if you've been at Disney World for any length of time, you know you need a reservation. But they also have a walk-up window, and that's how we got Beaches and Cream. Was they just have a walk-up window with several things on offer, and it works great.
Yep, for sure.
All right. So then that evening's activities included a Disney Springs progressive dinner.
And I have to say that was a fantastic idea by your husband.
Yes, it was. Oh, the genius he is. But so, all right, genius, tell us about your motivation and your reasoning behind the why. Like, what's your why for having us do that?
Yeah, so we had several people with us that had never been to Disney before.
Which is my favorite.
Me too. And we wanted to show off a little bit of what Disney Springs is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, plug for last week's episode to learn more about Disney Springs. If you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to it. But I wanted to show off as much of Disney Springs as we could. We knew, podcast namesake, we knew we were taking them to the Hangar Bar. But how else do you show off Disney Springs? Do you get a reservation at one restaurant and everybody goes there and has dinner and sees one restaurant? Or do you say, hey, let's go to one bar and get before dinner drinks. Let's go to one restaurant/bar and get appetizers and drinks. Let's go to another place to get our entrees and drinks. If we want dessert, let's go to another place to get dessert and drinks or whatever, and then end the night at Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. So my impetus was, let's show off as much of Disney Springs as we can, because for the most part, I think that was going to be the only time that folks were in Disney Springs, and I wanted them to know that was part of their Disney experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it went well enough that folks ended up going back over to Disney Springs.
Yeah.
So,
because there were things they didn't get to do that night, like
Right.
hit World of Disney,
Right.
and they wanted to see more.
Right. So that was the impetus behind my idea.
Yeah, and I think that's great because a lot of times people say, well, what is Disney Springs? And you're like, well, it's the shopping and dining district. And you're like, well, I don't need to go see that. But it is such a part of the experience.
Right. Yes. Agree 100%.
So the first stop on our progressive dinner was pre-dinner cocktails at the Edison, which it was fine. The Edison is another one of those places, though, where you kind of run the risk of not being able to get a seat at the bar because there are very limited seats, like
Mhm.
walk-up seats for the bar. It's not really a lounge situation. It's just you go down the stairs and there's a bar. If there's seats at the bar, you can sit there or stand there or whatever, but there's not like all the tables around the bar are for the restaurant.
Right.
So we did get lucky and we got like a little corner of the bar. I had a strawberry fields drink that was amazing. I don't remember everything that was in it, but it was light, it was refreshing, and it was fruity and exactly what I wanted. It wasn't overly sweet,
Mm-hmm.
but it was sweet enough.
Yeah. I had an old-fashioned
Yes, you did.
because, of course, I did.
Surprise.
There was something special about the old-fashioned. I don't remember what it was, but that was many old-fashions ago, so I don't remember what was special about that one. But yeah, and as far as the Edison, I agree. And I think that's true of a lot of Disney bars or Disney Springs bars. I don't think they have enough lounge space for people who don't want to have a reservation.
Right. Like walk-up availability.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish, like, the Edison, they had a small little section there that ended up with reserved tables for the regular diners. They could have taken one row of those and turned them into first come, first serve lounge seating. And it would have taken 4 tables away.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably would have made just as much or more off of the quick turnover of just people coming into the lounge.
Right.
Because we almost left.
Yeah.
Somebody ended up moving over for us because we almost left because there wasn't room and we didn't want to stand there and be annoying in what is a really cool bar.
Right.
But,
And we had a group of 9 and everybody was drinking. So that's not like low revenue.
No. Yeah, it's... Yeah, that would be my only ask of the Edison and some of those other Disney Springs bars is have a little bit more lounge space.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, and it was fun and it worked
Yep.
and it was fine.
I have to have something to bitch about. Might as
Sure.
well be not being able to get the seat that I want.
It's suggestions for improvement. It's not bitching. It's suggestions for improvement. We're thinking positive here.
Exactly.
All right. So then our next stop, probably one of my other favorite restaurants in Disney Springs, but this was the first time that we had actually tried the quick service version thereof, and that was Morimoto Asia street food.
Yep, the sticky ribs will change your life.
Yes, they will. We actually ran them out of sticky ribs because we told our entire group, you got to try the ribs because they will change your life. And we did.
Yeah. Candice and I had actually ordered 2 orders of the sticky ribs because
Yeah,
we
of
know
course
ourselves.
we did. Mm-hmm.
And so the last of our group, actually they ran out right before the last of our group. So we slid one of our orders of sticky ribs over to them and let them have them because you have to try those when
Yeah,
you go.
they are amazing. They are amazing.
Did we get drinks there too?
Yes. Well, some people did. Some people got mixed drinks. Some people got the beer.
I had a beer there, I think. Yeah.
And I was ready for water at that point, so I got some water.
Right. Mixing spirits and beer is always a good idea.
Said no one ever. So yeah, the sticky ribs. We had some folks at our table or in our group that got other choices.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't think anybody had any complaints, and everything I've ever had from Morimoto is delicious. And side note, we did actually discover that Chef Morimoto has other locations in the world, and Momo-san is the name of the ones that we have found. We found Miami. There's also one in Seattle that we didn't get to go to last year, but we did go in Miami, and the ribs were on the menu.
Yes.
So,
and we ate our body weight in sticky ribs that night.
and lots of other delicious things.
I don't know how we packed it all in. We were getting ready to go on a not Disney Cruise Line cruise. And
we were preparing.
We were apparently stretching our stomach for all the food we were going to eat because we went out that night and there were 4 of us, and I think we probably spent $200 on appetizers.
Right. And drinks. And we were not drinking cheap that night.
I think the bills were separate.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think the alcohol bill was on top of the $200 in appetizers that we had that night.
Well, you know what it is.
You had to try everything.
You do.
I think the 4 of us ended up with like 6 orders of the sticky ribs. It was just ridiculous. Like, you would have looked at our table and been like, yeah, there's a reason they look the way they look. But it was so good. Sometimes you just lose control.
And really, we're the only ones that have to deal with the consequences of those decisions.
Right.
So, whatever.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's get back on the rails here.
Let's get back to Disney.
And our next stop was the Polite Pig.
Yeah, and the Polite Pig is where I realized that I wished we hadn't had the mac and cheese at Beach Club.
Yes, very much so.
Because we had our sticky ribs, and by the time we got there for our entrees,
I was full.
I was stuffed.
Full.
So full. So they also serve you bourbon when you're standing in line.
Which I thought was really awesome.
Yeah, that's
bourbon
amazing.
And other things.
Yeah, so let's explain a little bit how that works. So it was a busy night at Disney Springs.
Yeah, very interesting restaurant concept.
Right. So Polite Pig is a barbecue joint, and it's It's like a mix between quick service
It's a
and
hybrid.
table service. There's a line that you get into, and you just walk by counters to place your order, and they give you a little thing that you put on your table, and then your food will come out to you.
And then it becomes a table service experience where staff will come and check on you and
Right.
bring you whatever you need and all
Yeah.
these other. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, and we were standing in line, and I'm like, I need a drink. Where can I go to get a drink?
Yeah,
And then
you need a drink.
right. Well, I was in Disney Springs, first night in Disney with friends. I needed a drink.
I get it.
So I was like strategizing, where could I go grab a beverage and still make it back in time to stay in line with the group? And all of a sudden, the Polite Pig waitress came out and said, "What can I get you to drink?" And I'm like, "Where's your bourbon menu?" And she brought it to me.
Because they are known for their bourbon.
Because they are known for their bourbon. And so I had myself, what did I have? Did I have?
You just had a pour of Blanton's, I think.
I think it was their store pick Blanton's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Their restaurant pick Blanton's.
They're Polite Pig Blanton's.
Yeah. And so like, it didn't feel like we were waiting in a line.
No, it didn't. And I had a Polite Punch, which I believe was bourbon based,
Mm-hmm.
but it was sort of a fruit punch situation. I really enjoyed it. And for me to say that I enjoyed a bourbon drink is kind of a big deal.
Right.
But I did enjoy that.
Yep. Okay, so we made it into line. Candice and I had decided we were not hungry enough to like have a full-on like 2-meat combo barbecue thing. We were trying to split more food and that kind of thing on this trip, not to save money, but just so we didn't always walk around full. So we were really trying to live into that, and we got 2 sides, right? We got the
Yes, we
street
got
corn.
The Brussels sprouts and the street corn.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Brussels sprouts first. I was sadly underwhelmed
I was
with
as well.
the Brussels sprouts. They were overcooked, so they were a little bit burnt, and they were soggy. They didn't have structural integrity that I like in Brussels sprouts. So we're just kind of mush.
Yeah, the sauce they had, it almost tasted like they had burnt them when they cooked them, and then they lived in the sauce for about half an hour too long.
Yep.
Like we got the end of a container before they replaced it with a fresh container is almost what I had pictured in my head.
Right. And the weird combination of like the burned Brussels sprouts and the sauce that they put on it made them bitter.
Right.
And I did not appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would not get that side again.
No, I wouldn't either. The street corn, on the other hand, yes.
Get me a bathtub full. I will bathe in that stuff. It was delicious.
Good flavor, good toppings, but not overwhelming, like nothing scary.
Right.
It was your typical Mexican street corn iteration,
With
I
a-
guess you could say.
Barbecue joint twist.
Right.
Yeah.
Delicious, delicious, delicious.
Yeah,
So-
it was really good.
And that, but I guess that is one thing that I did appreciate about Polite Pig was that it's fine to just get a side of something if that's what you want. Like you don't have to go in for the whole combo with 14 kinds of food.
And one of our group ended up getting a 2-meat combo and said the meats were delicious. Like next time we go, I want to go to Polite Pig with an appetite.
Yes.
Because I love barbecue.
Yes.
So I want to go try some of the true barbecue stuff there instead of just the sides, but we just were too full.
Yeah, and somebody else in our group got chicken wings and
Yeah.
said that they were really, really good. So I'm kind of a chicken wings girly too, so I wouldn't mind trying that. But yes, to your point, I do want to go back when we have room for food.
A meal.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, and then last but certainly not least, our beloved Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar.
Yeah.
And we decided that that was going to be the end of the night to kind of put a ribbon on the whole thing. It was our own version of the Kiss Goodnight, basically.
And it worked out that way because we were we sat on the back deck area and we saw Epcot fireworks.
Yep, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But yes, the drinks were amazing. I had a Reggie's Revenge, which came in a science beaker sort of situation, which is fun. I had also recommended, based off of other times that I've been there, the Fountain of Youth to people, which is also delicious and bright blue and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then because we had a member of our group that was celebrating a birthday, and that was the whole sort of impetus for us going on this trip, we decided to treat everyone to a shot. And the shots that we chose, because it was a birthday, were called chocolate cake shots. And I still to this day do not understand the science behind how these shots work. I don't even know what all is in them, but I know that there was lemon juice involved. But when you take the shot, it tastes like a piece of delicious chocolate cake. And I don't understand the science.
So you take the shot and then suck the lemon, right?
Yes.
Or was it the other way around?
No, it was kind of like tequila, but not.
Yeah. So you took whatever the shot was and then you sucked on a slice of lemon, and that combination just tasted exactly like chocolate cake. It was the strangest thing ever.
The most delicious thing.
It was really good. And here's another thing I will tell you about drinking and eating at Disney. For planning purposes, cost can get away from you
Oh, yes.
if you're not careful.
Oh, yes.
I had no idea how much each one of those shots cost as I bought them for the table until my bill came.
Right.
I was expecting like, oh, these are going to be like $8 shots each or whatever. They were like $22 each.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 or 3 alcohols in it, and the way it was rung up, it was, and I would do it again 100%. This is just a planning tip for you, that if you are on a strict budget, make sure you know how much you're spending.
Right.
Because things can get out of hand quickly if you're not careful. And I also had an old-fashioned there, I believe. I think. That's typically my go-to anywhere I go.
Yes.
So, again, I don't want to make it sound like I wouldn't do those shots again, because if we were down there and I knew how much they were, I still would have said bring them to us. But like a little bit of sticker shock when I got the bill.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's do this. Okay, so that's where we wrapped up the evening. We had a fantastic server there. It was... It just a lot of fun. And we talked in last week's episode, next time Candice and I go to the Hangar Bar, we're going to hang out at the bar.
Yes.
Or in the diving bell thing.
Right.
If it's open.
Even if it's not, we can just go in there and bother people and maybe they'll move.
Well, I got to look at this picture really quick.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I know you're having fun, but let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
On our podcast, we... Listen!
We know. Okay, so then that wrapped up day one.
Right.
Or half day one, or whatever, our initial introduction.
Yes.
So our first full day was a big day.
So big day. My feet still hurt from that day.
Oh, that's my problem. Okay, I didn't know. So our first day was, of course, walking 123 steps to get to International Gateway of Epcot and start our adventure for this trip there.
Yep.
It was during Festival of the Arts, which I was super excited about. Stop it. I've never been to Epcot during that particular festival, but I've seen a lot about that on YouTube and things like that. So I was excited because I'm kind of an arty person. With,
Yeah.
Music and culinary arts.
And I liked it as much as I liked the food and wine.
Yeah.
If not a little bit more.
Well, we don't know that, though, because we've not ever partaken in the Food and Wine Festival because we're always so full.
That's true. We're always just walking around World Showcase without eating.
Right. But with that said, we kind of went into this trip knowing that we wanted to try some of those food booth offerings.
Yep.
So we shared.
Yes, a lot.
And I think that was a great idea because even though the stuff that comes from the food booth is like individual portions, they are all very shareable.
Yeah.
Very
there was
shareable.
nothing that we got that wasn't shareable.
No. But we did have to go to one of our favorite restaurants, I would say, in Disney World for breakfast that morning just because it's a thing. And that would be Garden Grill.
Yes.
In the Land Pavilion in World Nature.
Yes. And I'm still mad at them for getting rid of the cinnamon roll skillet.
I understand.
My heart breaks every time I think about it.
I'm sorry.
It's
I
okay.
didn't mean to cause you pain.
It's all right.
But now it's some sort of pull-apart bread
It's like a cinnamon... It's a cross between a cinnamon roll and monkey bread, but not as sticky.
Yeah.
It's not as good as what the cinnamon roll skillet was.
It didn't rock my world.
No.
For sure.
The cinnamon roll skillet would have. Like, I seriously... When we had been there, when Lacey, Lariah, and I had been there for breakfast, I seriously would have just gotten a pan of that cinnamon roll and just had that. Like, I wouldn't have needed the skillet of all the rest of the food. It would have been a really expensive cinnamon roll, but like it was that good.
Okay.
That cinnamon roll was everything everybody says Gaston's was.
Oh.
Everything. It was the best cinnamon roll on property.
Well, as long as it lived up to that and not the trash that is Gaston's.
It 100% lived up to that.
Okay. All right. So anyway, Garden Grill, for those who don't know, is a character dining experience. But the nice thing about it is if you use the Disney dining plan, it only costs you 1 table service credit.
Right.
Where a lot of the other character dining experiences take 2. So in planning, contact your travel professional. They can hook you up with all the details on that. But yeah, just watch out for that because that's an easy way to blow through credits without knowing you're blowing through credits.
Yep. And if you need a travel professional, I know a good one.
Hey, me too. But anyway, so breakfast consists of, it's family style, so they're going to bring you as much of whatever you want on the menu.
Yep.
But they bring out fresh fruit, which ours was watermelon. And I tell you, having fresh watermelon in February was a treat.
Yes.
For me, because it's probably my favorite fruit. And we get them in summer because that's when they're in season around here. But having it in February was pretty top notch. Then
top drawer.
The top drawer. Absolutely top drawer. But then they bring out a skillet that has scrambled eggs, bacon, steak.
It was a chimichurri steak.
Okay. Mickey waffles. I think there's some potatoes involved in there.
Some like cubed breakfast potatoes.
Yeah. And then, of course, as with most Disney meals, you get a beverage, and then you have the option to add on alcoholic beverages if you want. So we got Pogmosas because when in Disney, that's what you do.
Yep, you drink Pogmosas.
Yes. I also had coffee because it was early enough that I needed that to touch my soul.
Right.
So we've been to Garden Grill before, not for breakfast. We went for lunch the first time we had actually
You
gone
and I.
there.
I had
Yes.
been there for breakfast before.
Yes. And I will say that I preferred the lunch offering more than the breakfast offering.
Yeah, I would agree. The only thing that made me prefer their breakfast was that damn cinnamon roll. Like, honestly, that made that entire breakfast for me. Mm-hmm. Now, with them not having that, I don't need to go back for breakfast again. It's
a standard Disney breakfast, which there's nothing wrong with, but I think there's more interesting ways to experience a restaurant than that.
Yeah.
And if I want a traditional Disney breakfast in that way, I'm going to go over to Ohana.
Yep, 100% agree with that. And the characters that you get to meet at Garden Grill are worth the trip alone.
Absolutely.
You get Mickey and Pluto and Chip and Dale, and you see them multiple times in your trip around the restaurant. And it's a restaurant that I think is probably one of the most underrated spots on property.
100%.
And that's even with a mediocre breakfast.
Yes.
It's still an underrated spot.
Yes, but if you go for lunch or dinner, you do get a salad as part of your meal, and that produce comes directly from the greenhouses in the land.
Yeah.
Like living with the land is where that produce comes from. So,
Yep.
yeah. So then we messed around the front part of Epcot in World Celebration and World Nature and World Discovery and World whatever it is. I don't know. And then we had an after hours event that night at Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
And we had originally thought, okay, well, we won't go into a park that morning and just save up our energy and our steps and all that for the evening for after hours. However, I think we were influenced by our peers and decided to go into Epcot. So that's how that all happened. And then rather than doing the intelligent thing and going back to our room for a break, we just hopped right on over to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I think we were so excited that we forgot to take the break.
Yes.
Or you thought about taking a break and I forgot that we were going to take a break. So I just said, hey, we're here. Let's head over. Let's hop on the monorail and go.
Right.
And we can take it easy over there. Like, just take our time. And Which we did. Like, and that's the thing. The day never felt rushed about anything.
No.
It was just a lot.
17 hours of a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I would probably force us to take that break, but it worked for us. We were okay.
And on the way from Epcot to Magic Kingdom, we took the monorail, as you mentioned, and we stopped by the Joffrey stand at the entrance of Epcot. And I had a cold brew, and you had some sticky sweet lemonade
Frozen lemonade
situation.
That was before I knew that Joffrey's would do unsweetened iced tea for me, which now I'm a Joffrey's fan again.
There we go. By the time that we got over to Magic Kingdom and kind of found our bearings and kind of made a game plan of what we were going to do, I can admit I was hungry because it was early afternoon and we hadn't eaten since. I mean, our breakfast reservation was like 8
Yeah.
or 8:30, so it was time.
Yeah. Did we have any?
No, because we did the front part.
Okay. So we didn't do any World Showcase that day.
No.
Okay.
No. So we actually found our way over to Cosmic Ray's Starlight Cafe and split a bacon cheeseburger over there. And I am a stan for a Disney cheeseburger. I don't know what it is, but
You were a stand for vacation cheeseburgers.
That's true. But that was actually my first time in Cosmic Ray's because, don't hate, but Cosmic Ray himself drives me a little bit insane. Like, it just annoys me.
He's too Elvis-y for you.
Yes. Yes.
Which is what they're going for. And you just are not an Elvis fan.
Right. So what did you think of Cosmic Ray's?
I thought it was good. Typical quick service cheeseburger, bacon cheeseburger. It was good. Service was good. It was our first experience kind of with mobile order. The first time we had done anything with that. So, well, I guess we did in the resort too, but did we? No, we ordered straight from a person there.
Yeah.
The first time. That was kind of our first experience with mobile order, and it was super slick. And again, it's a cheeseburger.
Right.
There was nothing super special about it. It was prepared well done, whatever. Came with Disney fries, which are always good. Again, I don't know why fries in a theme park taste better. Probably because they're making 8,000 pounds of them at once. But yeah, it was good. It was good to sort of, we found a nice quiet place to kind of sit and relax for a bit and have a cheeseburger and then get the rest of our day going.
Yep. We did have, as I mentioned, after hours that evening. And so we wandered around Magic Kingdom for a while, and then we decided that we needed to sit down again and have a break. And the clouds were looking a little bit suspect, like it was going to rain or something. So we decided to dip into Gaston's Tavern and grab a LeFou's brew, which is one of my favorite things. And in a past episode, we have made those here at home.
Yes.
If you're interested, go back and listen to that episode. But then we also decided to see what all the hubbub was about the cinnamon roll. Disappointing does not come close
Agreed.
to our experience with that cinnamon roll. And to this day, I cannot figure out why everybody hoots and hollers and rants and raves about how delicious it is when our experience was very much not that.
Yeah. Everybody talks about it being ooey gooey, and
Ours was dry and flavor free.
yeah, even the middle of it
Yeah.
was not the best cinnamon roll.
And we even got the extra cup of icing.
Yeah, very disappointed. Like, you hear so many people talk about how good that is. I question their sanity.
Yeah, I don't get it.
How it makes the top of almost every snack list on YouTube blows me away. I've never heard anybody talk bad about it until us,
Yeah.
which is why I kind of want to go back and try it again at some point, just because maybe it was just our experience. We got a bad one. But yeah, I've not heard anybody say anything bad about it, but I would not recommend it.
Right. And, like, yes, we used a dining plan snack credit on it. So technically it didn't cost us anything, but I would not go so far as to spend another snack credit on it. And I definitely would not shell out the $7
Right.
or whatever it is to actually pay for it.
Yeah. Again, I'll try it again just because I want to see if we got a bad batch.
Okay. And then I don't know that we did all that much more eating other than the free snacks at the
Mickey
after
Premium
hours.
ice cream bars and sodas and that kind
Popcorn.
of thing. Popcorn were all included with our ticket for the after hours.
Right. So not much to talk about there.
Yep.
The next day we went back into Epcot, and that was a sleep-in day because we were out until 2 that morning with after hours and then getting back to the resort and all. So we were pretty tired. So we strolled into Epcot right at around the time that World Showcase was opening up and all the food booths and everything. And our first try from one of the Epcot food booths was in the France Pavilion. And we got the infamous bowl of brie and a French martini that had chambord and other deliciousness in it.
What a better breakfast. A bowl of cheese and champagne.
Yeah,
Very France.
very France. But I kid you not, like we've heard a lot of rants and raves about that cheese bowl. Worth every one of them.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, it looked like really small, like fairly small for the price that you paid for it. But the cheese was so rich and delicious that I don't think I would have wanted any more.
Yeah, it was a good size. Again, a good size to split.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was really good.
And then that martini was just next level. And
Yep.
we enjoyed that while we were in line for Remy's,
Yep,
which was very fitting.
it was.
And then after Remy's, we walked over to L'Artisan de Glace and got the croque glacé, which is a scoop of ice cream of your choice with your choice of sauces baked into a brioche bun.
Delicious.
Worth it. And again, very, very shareable. Like, I feel pretty secure in saying that I think if one person were to eat that by themselves, they would be sick.
Right.
Because everything is so rich. Like, the bread
Right.
is rich, the ice cream is rich, the sauce is rich.
Yeah.
It's just...
The juxtaposition of the cold ice cream with the warm bread around it with a little bit of crunch from the waffling they do with it. So good. Like whoever decided that was a way to do an ice cream sandwich is a genius.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have a statue somewhere. It was delicious.
Agreed. So then we just decided to go on down and explore some of the other food booths. We hit the Encanto one, and then we had the Japan one where we got our little sake box,
Mm-hmm.
which was cool. Then we had the like little bao bun that ended up tasting like one of the Nebraska foods that we know and love dearly, which is called a runza, which is like a beef cabbage situation wrapped in bread.
Yep. Depending on where you're from, you might have heard it called Bierox runzas. I know there's another term that some folks use, but it's that kind of loose meat and cabbage packed in a bread roll.
But who knew that at a Japan booth in Epcot, we would get one of those shoved in a bao bun?
Yeah. I just had my first bite of that, and I'm like, Candice, taste this and tell me what you think it tastes like. And she's like, it's so familiar. Yeah, because it tastes like a runza. She's like, yes!
To be fair, though, I haven't had a plain runza in a very long time. I usually get mine with cheese. Like, it took me a minute.
Yeah.
But as soon as you said it, I'm like, yep. There it is.
There it is.
There it is. So then we explored more of World Showcase and did some of those things. And then before we knew it, it was time for lunch, which was later in the afternoon. You know, you walk around that much and you get hungry a little faster because you're burning off stuff.
Yep.
So then we decided to take a throwback to one of our very first trips to Epcot together, and where I figured out that I do love sauerkraut, and we ordered a brat and kraut from Summerfest at Germany.
Yep.
And it came with some house-made chips, and it was delightful. And then we also got the pretzel bread pudding.
And if you know anything about me, you know I am a bread pudding fiend.
Mm-hmm.
I've not met very many bread puddings that I don't like. This one is near the top of my bread pudding list. And again, it's from a quick service place in Disney World. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to me, some of the quality that they push out from some of those kitchens, and just how delicious it really is. And that bread pudding is something that I seriously crave it.
And I am not a fan of bread pudding typically because it creates a texture issue for me with the soggy bread and all the things. This I will make an exception for. This I actually like, and this and the banana bread pudding from Olivia's, I'll eat those.
Yeah.
No question. But other bread pudding, I need to be forced into it all.
Right. And this bread pudding is made out of like day old big German pretzels from the pavilion.
Yes, so you got some salty along with the sweet,
Yeah.
and then there's a vanilla sauce and a caramel sauce that they put on it. It's just, so good.
delicious.
So good. And then we saw the Disney ducks wanting some food, but it's not safe for them, so please don't feed the ducks.
No.
Please do not.
And give dirty looks to people who do.
Right. Also give dirty looks to people who feed their children beer.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to say any more about that, but just don't do that. It's not funny. It's not cute, and it's illegal.
And
Hello?
it could get Disney in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it could. So don't do that. Don't be that person. So the next thing we did was found our way over to Mexico to meet up with our friends. And we got to stop into La Cava del Tequila, where I had a pina colada because I just wasn't feeling a margarita, but I did want something vacation-y and kind of sweet. And it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a margarita with the black ant salt rim because that was on your list.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
It was delicious. Again, it's several months ago, so I've had a lot of alcohol between then and now, but...
You make yourself sound like an alcoholic, which you are not.
Which I'm not, but it's a lot of time has passed, and I don't really remember the flavor profile of it, but I do remember the black ant salt was it was different than what I thought. I thought you were going to see more ant bits than you could see.
You could see some, though.
Yeah, the only reason you knew it was black ant salt was the salt was black, and then you could every now and then see like a little ant leg in with it. It doesn't taste like it tasted like salt. She's giving me the gag face, but you couldn't taste ant. I wouldn't know. I couldn't describe what an ant tastes like. I would tell you it tastes salty because it was salty.
Those are just the sassy ants.
Right. They're just salty.
All right. Anything more about La Cava?
No. That's a lot of fun, too. And you can either do the walk-up wait list and get a table and hang out there and have snacks, or you can just get in line and walk up to the bar. Mm-hmm. And the bar you order and then you walk away. It's not like you hang out at the bar there.
Right. Okay. So then we decided to meet up with our friends and rode Soren, I think.
Yep.
So we did a little bit crisscrossing. More crisscrossing this trip than we ever have before. Well, aside from our very first trip, which is not something that I typically like to do. But again, when you're with friends, you make exceptions that you normally don't do.
Right.
But we did take time to relax inside the Land Pavilion with one of our very good friends who had not actually been there before. And down in Sunshine Seasons, in the refrigerator cases, they do have alcohol available for purchase. So we just sat and had beverages.
Yeah, beers, White Claws.
Mm-hmm. I had a Schafferhofer.
Yeah. I think I had a Busch Light or something
You
like
had
that.
a Blue Moon.
Blue Moon.
Mm-hmm. So then we went over to the Inspiration Station because we were headed back over to Mexico for dinner.
Right.
So we went to the Inspiration Station and had a beer flight.
Was that a beer flight or a cider flight?
A cider flight. That's
Yeah.
what it was. And that was good.
Yeah, none of those ciders were ones that I was like, I need to go find this in cans.
No. They were fun, but like the one that was supposed to be, I think it's cherry. Yeah, it was a black cherry hard cider.
Mm-hmm.
That to me tasted like cough medicine.
Right.
The blood orange one I think was probably my favorite. The passion fruit one I didn't care for at all.
Yeah, I would agree with your assessment.
And then for dinner that night, we got to go to La Hacienda de San Angel.
Yes.
Which is not in the pyramid. That's San Angel Inn. It's actually across the road on the lagoon. And our evening that night, I had a cucumber martini. And then we had queso fundido and then some steak thing that was carne asada steak with rice and tortillas and all the delicious things.
Yeah, we split that night, right? Or did we each get our own entree?
We each got our own.
Okay.
It was too much. We should have split.
Right.
But.
Right. And of the sit-down restaurants in Mexico, that is still my favorite.
Yes.
We'll talk about why when we get to the other one.
Yes.
But the atmosphere, the service, the food quality, all of that makes this one my favorite of the sit-down places in Mexico.
And here's a pro hack for you. If you make your dining reservation, it's a little bit late for some people to eat this late, but if you can get your reservation around fireworks time, you can always request a fireworks view seat. They can't promise it, but they will get you as close as they can. And we got to see Luminous for the first time while in La Hacienda.
Yeah. And that restaurant, when you ask for fireworks view, the whole restaurant has at least some fireworks view because the restaurant, the back wall of it is just a wall of windows that look out over the lagoon. So if you get right up next to the window, you're going to see all the show. if you were sitting like back where we were, we couldn't see the things exploding high up in the air, but we could see all the lasers. We got a good gist of what the show was about.
Right.
And we were not next to the windows.
No, and they pipe the music in and turn the lights down in the restaurant, so it's very much, it's a good experience.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, so let's talk about, I mean, the food was delicious, the drinks were fine. Let's talk about dessert, because I think I found my favorite dessert in all of Disney World that night.
Yeah.
And that was the sweet corn ice cream topped with popcorn and a sprinkle of tahini. Revolutionary does not cover it, but the ice cream was sweet and cold and delicious and rich. But then you had the crunch of the popcorn with a little bit of salt and then the tahini, and it was just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that was delicious. I don't remember what I had for dessert that night, but
You had flan.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry for the disdain in my voice. I just don't care for custardy sorts of things. So
Oh, and speaking of ice cream with tahini, I saw a video from the Polynesian where the Sunshine Terrace. No, what's the place where you get the boozy Dole Whips?
Pineapple Lanai.
Yeah, Pineapple Lanai. Did you know you can, when you order your Dole Whip and you get it with a rum floater, you get your Dole Whip float with a rum floater. Did you know you can also ask for a side of tahini
I think I did know that.
and sprinkle a little bit of that on there?
I think I did know that. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Sorry for the distraction, but
It's
when you said
yeah.
ice cream with tahini, I'm like, ooh, I gotta say this.
All right. Anything else about La Hacienda?
No, it's again, that's a restaurant that I would tell people to go to.
Yeah, it's worth the time.
Yeah, again, worth the time investment.
Yep.
Food's delicious.
Yep.
We've had, again, front of house always seems very chaotic there.
Yes.
I've said that before on this podcast about that restaurant. Front of house seems very chaotic. Back of the actual restaurant part of it, the service has always been phenomenal.
Okay. Then that wrapped up that day.
Yep.
The next day was an off day. So we started our day by going to Stormalong Bay, which is the pool complex at Yacht and Beach Club, and figured out that you can get table service basically from there. They have servers that are walking around that will bring drink menus. You can order food from Hurricane Hannah's, which we'll talk about later.
Yep.
All these things. So we sat and had a cocktail. I had a strawberry daiquiri, which was pretty next level. And you had...
I don't remember. Was it a pina colada?
No.
Oh, it was probably like a bourbon smash or
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you had the lobster roll or the seafood roll. And I had a bacon cheeseburger. Surprise.
Yeah. The bacon cheeseburger was better than the lobster roll. The lobster roll wasn't bad. Not enough of the lobster salad to go with the amount of bread.
Mm-hmm. Looks very bready.
Yeah, and so I think I ended up eating just the lobster salad out of it and leaving the bread. It was just too much.
Yeah.
And and overall, that's not something I would order if we were to sit there again. The lobster salad was super mayonnaise-y, and like you couldn't really taste the lobster much, and
Which is a crime.
right, it just was not. Again, I wouldn't say disappointed. I wasn't expecting Maine lobster rolls, but I was expecting something with maybe a little more flavor, a little more seasoning, something, and it just wasn't it.
Yeah. Which I get. I mean, quick service is...
And mayonnaise-based salad on a sunshiny, kind of warmish day in Florida was like,
pass. All right, but then that night we had planned, as our off night, we had planned a monorail bar crawl. And our first stop was the Poly,
yes,
where we went and put our name in at Trader Sam's. And by the time we got over there, they said it was going to be a couple-hour wait. So we went up to Tambu Lounge and got a Lapu Lapu, which is a multi-rum situation served in a pineapple. And then we had boozy Dole Whip with rum floaters. And yes, Dole Whip float, actually.
Yes.
With a rum floater.
No better way to have Dole Whip.
And I will tell you, like, I am typically a purist when it comes to my Dole Whip. Pineapple is the way to go. That's the only way that I really want it. However, this one had the pineapple and the vanilla swirled together. And with the pineapple juice on it and the rum floater, that was revolutionary.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Mm-hmm. It tasted like kind of cake.
Yeah, it was so good.
So good. But then after a good couple hours, we got into Trader Sam's and we had the OA just so we could show people what that was all about and experience that with the cinnamon sparkles. And
Right. I love that bar.
I do too. But again, I think it's something that everybody needs to experience, but I don't know that it needs to be an every single time sort of thing.
I wouldn't wait again. If it was just you and I going, I wouldn't wait 2 hours for it.
No.
I would instead, if I wanted a cocktail from there, I would go to the outside version and just sit there and have it outside instead of having to be in the bar. It's unique. It's a fun place. It's loud.
And it's one of those places that you have to go willing to be engaged.
Right.
Like, it's not some place to go to sit and relax. It's some place where you have to be paying attention and aware, and not that anything bad's going to happen, but it's just
right.
It's a different vibe.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
I love it. It's not a bar you're going to go spend all night in.
No.
But yeah, if you haven't experienced, go. Even if you have experienced, it's worth going. But like you said, it's not going to be an every trip thing for us.
Right. So then we moved on to the Grand Floridian.
Yep.
And went to the Enchanted Rose. We got drinks. You got the seasonal old fashioned.
Yes.
I got the espresso martini, which had a shot of Chambord in it, which I'm not going to complain about. But that probably is one of my favorite espresso martinis that I've ever had, with or without the Chambord.
Yeah.
And then we got the croquettes, which are the little fried sausage meatballs, basically in a marinara sauce. And I thought those were delicious. For a small bite, I thought they were really, really good.
Yeah, they really were.
Lots of flavor and well done.
Yep. All the food that we saw from there looked really good. Like, somebody else in our party got one of the flatbreads.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what everybody else got, but everybody got some sort of a small bite there, and it all looked really good.
Yeah, just because we were drinking and we're old enough now to know the rules of when you drink, you need to eat.
Right.
And you need to hydrate.
Right.
So there was also a round of waters at the table.
Right. Yeah, and that's another bar. Again, it was a busy night when we did that, busier than I thought it would be, because it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was a Wednesday.
And so it was busier than I thought. We ended up actually being seated outside the bar, which is fine. I love the Grand Floridian lobby, but I don't feel like we got the whole experience of the
Enchanted Rose
because we weren't in with all the props and the storytelling elements of it. We were just on the outside looking in, and we were able to go in and sort of walk around and look at all the things, which is fine. And we were a big group, so it was going to be harder for us to find tables all sitting together. So this is a minor inconvenience, and we were still very comfortable and
fabulous service.
Yeah, fabulous service, all of those kind of things. But that's another bar. I actually, that was one of my favorite bars of the night.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, good to know. All right, so then after that, we went over to Steakhouse 71 at the Contemporary.
Yep.
We were going to try and get into California Grill, which we thought they had a lounge, but they've changed that. So it's not a lounge anymore.
Right, it's just
much
a bar.
like the Edison, it's a bar, and it's first come, first serve seating, and there's like 12 seats.
Right.
So going up there during fireworks time is probably not going to net you a seat at the bar.
Right, and that's when we were getting there, was about fireworks time.
Right. So we went down to Steakhouse 71, and I will tell you, the walkway into Steakhouse 71, maybe one of my favorite places on property, just because of all the photos.
Yep.
And the history and all of that. So we got a seat in the lounge, which was also first come, first serve. Very comfortable. Again, amazing service.
Yes.
Amazing service. As far as cocktails, you had the Boulevardier.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it for you.
Thank you. That.
I had the 1971 Sunset, and I will tell you that on the menu, that is a drink for multiple people. So it is priced accordingly. Like, if you just order a 1971 Sunset and the server does not ask you, you are going to get basically a fishbowl of this drink. And it is priced accordingly at like $22. They will make single serves of that cocktail.
Good to know.
Yeah. And that's what I got, and it was amazing. It was rum and a bunch of juice. Like, there was pog juice in it and all kinds of things. And it was very, very good, but it was very strong. Like it wasn't a danger drink because you could definitely taste the alcohol. So it was a pace yourself sort of situation, but it was really, really good. And then we got the peanut butter and jelly wings, which I don't think are on the menu anymore.
I think they did change those to something different.
Yeah, which is sad because they were delicious. And then we got that beautiful stack burger, which...
Best burger on property.
Hands down.
Quite possibly one of the best cheeseburgers I've ever had.
Yes. Yep.
And we split that, and it was really cool because they actually, in the kitchen, they split it for us and presented it in such a way that it made it more convenient for us to split. I was expecting them just to bring it out and bring us a knife and we'd have to split it ourselves, but...
They split it on plates. They did the whole... It was very, very... It was typical plus-up Disney service.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Now, my only thing with Steakhouse 71 is their lounge seating. They had the bar. You could walk up and sit at the bar, which felt like it was more part of the restaurant. The actual lounge rooms, like where we were, you're right, they were 100% comfortable. It felt to me more like a waiting room. Like you go there to wait for them to call your name for your reservation.
Yes, it was very much almost like a living room.
Right.
Sort of thing where it was like more comfy furniture.
Yeah, it works.
I've not been drinking today. Furniture. And when you're sitting there, I get what you're saying though, because when you're sitting there eating and drinking, it's hard to eat and drink in a living room.
Right. And I even asked the person who ended up being our waitress if this was considered the lounge, because it didn't feel like a traditional lounge.
No.
So, and she's like, "Yeah, you're in the right place." I'm like, "Okay, let's sit, be comfortable, and eat and drink." Mm-hmm. So we did.
But I think with the theme of the place, it totally fit.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're thinking lounge in the 70s, you're thinking comfy furniture. So, paneling on the walls, sort of smoking jacket, whatever.
Yeah, and now that I know,
yeah,
it's fine. It just didn't feel. It was bright. It just again felt like a place where families went to wait for their name to be called for their reservation.
Yep, agree. But there others in our party got crab cakes, and then there was like a bacon and egg situation, which was pork belly and a poached egg. That a couple people in our party got that, and they said it was phenomenal.
Next level.
Yeah. So that wrapped up that night.
Cool.
Our next day we started off in Hollywood Studios, and as we've talked before, some people rope drop attractions. We rope drop food.
Yes, we do. We're not shy about it.
And I was very, very excited to try the breakfast Ronto wrap at Ronto Roasters in Galaxy's Edge. First of all, Galaxy's Edge is breathtaking. I would like to go spend more time in Galaxy's Edge, which for not being a huge Star Wars fan anyway, that says a lot for me.
Yes, it does.
Regarding the breakfast Ronto wrap, though, on paper and in theory, it should have been one of my favorite bites because it has all the elements of the perfect breakfast for me. Mm-hmm. Eggs, cheese, sausage, and bread. But it fell flat for me.
Me too. It was... Again, that's another one of those foods that everybody talks up. Like all the influencers and what we watch on YouTube and that kind of thing, everybody talks up just how delicious it is. It just, for me, did not live up to that hype at all.
No. And I don't know if it's because we got there so early that it was like one of the first off the line that morning. So like the cheese really didn't have time to melt.
Right.
Or... if we needed some extra sauce because there's some sort of peppercorn sauce on it or what the problem was. But I don't know. It would be a while before I would get that again.
Yep, me too.
Also, as just kind of we got to try it because we're here sort of thing, we got the Katsaka's Outpost mix, which is lemon blueberry cheesecake popcorn and then chili lime popcorn. It's an interesting combination. I don't know that it's better for me than standard Disney popcorn.
We ended up giving it away.
We did.
That tells you everything you need to know about it. Like,
yes.
It was okay. We felt comfortable giving it away, but...
we tried it. It's fine.
If we would have left it in our bag, it probably wouldn't have gotten finished.
Right. I mean, it tastes like Trix, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A little bit of spicy Trix.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It was okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't waste money or a credit on it again.
No.
I've tried it.
I would probably get the blue grains, which is just standard popcorn, and be just as happy with that as I was with anything.
Yeah.
Because I love Disney popcorn, but that's me.
That was then next place we went there was
Oga's.
Isn't that the day we went to 50s Primetime?
Yes, it is, and I don't know why I didn't take pictures, but I didn't take pictures. Probably because we have them.
We have pictures because we ate the same things we always eat there.
Right, because when it's good, that's what you eat.
Right.
So I had Aunt Liz's chicken, fried chicken.
I don't remember what I had. Probably the meatloaf because I love it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But the meatloaf is super good there.
Yeah.
The chicken is good.
Again, down home cooking, comfort food, huge portions, great kind of atmosphere. That's another one of those places that I just absolutely adore.
Yeah, Cousin Amy took really good care of us at the table, made sure we didn't have our elbows on the table, and ate our vegetables and all of those things. But we did also get to meet and spend time with Cousin Quinn, which that was kind of like a brush with fame for me.
Right.
But that was fun, and I think our group appreciated that experience as well. We had a couple that I think had not been there before and were a little bit nervous about the amount of razzing they were going to get from the staff.
Right.
But I mean, again, that's a place that Disney doesn't want to make you feel uncomfortable. So if you're not into that sort of thing, just let them know and they'll back off.
Yeah. And what I noticed this time was that the servers were very much taking their cues from the tables.
Yes.
Like if somebody were giving it back to them, they'd turn it up. Other than that, it was like, hey, I told you not to have your elbows on the table. Hey, I told you to set the table. Like just having fun with that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas you noticed a couple tables where maybe the families were giving it back to them a little bit, and they just go all in on kind of the if they'd ask for ketchup, they'd bring them 6 bottles or whatever, like, and just, or tell them to go get it themselves and send them over to somebody else's table, and they do that at a couple different restaurants.
Right.
But I think the servers are probably trained in such a way to watch out for people that are comfortable with that interaction and people that aren't, and still give those people that aren't comfortable with that interaction enough of it so they get a sense of what the restaurant is about.
Yes. Yeah, which kudos to them.
Yeah.
Because that could be a really, really uncomfortable situation and make somebody not go back.
Yep, 100%.
So then it was wander around, do some things.
And then we ended up at Oga's Cantina.
Yep, we got into Oga's Cantina, which was a cool experience. They give you a 45-minute limit, which is basically 2 drinks. They do have mocktails available, which I did that night.
Yeah, I don't remember the drinks that I had from there, but
you
again,
had a fuzzy tauntaun, didn't you?
Yeah, I had one of the drinks was a fuzzy tauntaun, and then I don't remember what the other one was. The fuzzy tauntaun is the one that has the numbing foam, so it just like makes your lips go just slightly numb.
What was that experience like?
It wasn't anything weird
Alarming.
for me. Yeah, it was just like, oh, it just tingles.
Okay.
Makes your lips tingle.
So it doesn't make it so like you're drooling anything?
No.
Okay.
No, for me, it just made my lips tingle a little bit. And again, that's a place you go into for the atmosphere. The drinks are great. The drinks are, well, I say the drinks are great, but the drinks are okay. They're all pre-made, pre-mixed, and they just pour them in a glass and bring them to you. But the atmosphere in there, being in a Star Wars cantina, is what it's all about.
Right, and the server was amazing.
He was.
I thought.
I think he did a good job. I think, and our friends would have to tell me if they agree with me on this. I think he got to be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Like he would come tell like 7 or 8 jokes in our 45 minutes. I felt like he took time away from us.
And I almost wonder if it's because we were like playing back and forth with him so well that he like felt that he had an audience.
Right. It was
where
fun
maybe
for
he
him.
didn't have that in other tables that he was helping.
Right.
So it was like, oh, these people are fun. Let's go hang out with them.
And that could be. And again, I don't want to take anything away. His magic was sparkling. It's fine.
He could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. For me, it just got to be a little bit too much and felt like it was taking time away from us.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
I'd have him as a server again. He was fun.
Yeah. Okay. So then after Oga's, we wandered around Galaxy's Edge a little bit longer, and then we kind of split up as a party And you and I went to Roundup Rodeo Barbecue.
Yes, because we hadn't had enough food today.
Oh, good Lord. But, I mean, when you're there, you can't not.
Right.
I mean, we don't get there all the time.
It's
so
hard not to overeat at Disney.
It is. It is. And with this being a new restaurant, I wanted to try it for science, if nothing else.
Yep.
So, again, it's a family service or a family style service concept where you are basically, because you're in Toy Story Land, you're shrunk down to the size of a toy. Andy has built a restaurant out of cardboard boxes.
Yep.
And it's good down-home barbecue.
Yeah.
And so, like with most other meals, there you can get alcohol if you so choose. By that time, my liver was screaming at me. So I had iced tea and water because you have to hydrate.
Right.
Yes. And then they brought out, so the starter of this meal is cheddar biscuits, like buttermilk cheddar biscuits, which I thought were really good on their own.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is a red pepper jelly that has a little bit of spice to it. So just putting that warning out there.
Yep.
But I think that red pepper jelly, which is simple in its design, but brings those biscuits to a next level.
I didn't, the biscuits on their own were not my favorite thing. That jelly on them made them delicious.
Okay, and then they start bringing out salads and sides. So the salads that they brought out to us were a cucumber, tomato, and pickled red onion salad, which
was really good.
So good and nice and refreshing and light and crisp and vegetable-y, and that's kind of what my body wanted at that point. I'm like, oh, something fresh. And then we also had some watermelon, which... Again,
Can't
watermelon in February, can't go wrong.
Yep.
I think there was supposed to be mint or something on the watermelon, but there was no mint on our watermelon, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Because straight watermelon does it for me. And then you got a milkshake.
Did I?
Yeah.
Was it boozy?
Probably. I don't know.
I don't remember. I was so full.
But then we got the actual plate of meat.
The platter.
Yes. And it was brisket and ribs and chicken, and then a sausage spiral and some baked beans.
Yeah.
And it was all really, really good.
Yeah, I tried everything on the platter. It was really, really good.
Yep. And then that came with sides of tots, which were so salty I could hardly...
Yeah.
I ate one and I'm like, that's enough. They were good and they were nice and crisp, but they were so salty. But then there was also mac and cheese, once again with goldfish on top. A vinegar-based coleslaw.
That was really good, too.
Yes, nice and fresh and crisp. And then corn.
Yeah. And full transparency, Candice and I did not do this restaurant justice. I'm glad we used dining plan credits for it because, again, we had a huge meal, a huge lunch late. Like, we got done with lunch at like 3:30. And it was 8 o'clock when we were eating again. We didn't snack between because we were still so full, but it was just one of those days where we walked in there. It was a hot day, so
lots of people.
You've eaten a lot. You go in, and yeah, it was just one of those things where we didn't do it justice. Another one of those places, kind of like the Polite Pig, that I want to go back to when I have an appetite,
right? Because
I think I will enjoy it more when I'm hungry,
right?
And again, the atmosphere there. Heck, Candice, you could have ridden in on a stick pony to our table if you wanted to.
And I think they were kind of sad that I didn't.
Right. And one of the shticks, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear a spoiler about the restaurant, fast forward about 45 seconds. One of the shticks they do is the general will shout out, "Andy's coming," and then you'll hear footsteps running down a supposed hallway, and everybody in the restaurant has to freeze. The wait staff, the servers,
like everything just goes
quiet. Everybody goes quiet, and you freeze. Andy comes in looking for something, and then leaves, and then good job, everybody, and go back to the way you were or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's just a ton of fun that they kind of bring you into the story in that way.
And the theming in that restaurant is adorable.
Yeah, fantastic.
Like
theming.
Everywhere you look, it's just like you can't. Everywhere you look, you see something different. Even if you look in that same place again, you see something else.
Right.
And then for dessert at Roundup Rodeo is little jars of like pie, I guess you could call it. And then because our server was so wonderful, she also brought us the kids' dessert, which is a cupcake with a Forky cookie in it. And I didn't eat that because I was so full that I couldn't.
I think I had a bite of it just to try it.
I literally could not eat anymore.
Yeah, I think I took a bite of it just to try it. It was a typical kids' cupcake thing, pretty dry, but what are you going to do?
It is what it is.
It was good. And Forky is quite possibly one of my favorite characters from the Pixar animation universe. Trash. No, toy. Trash. I'm trash.
All right, so that wrapped up that day. The next day we were back in Epcot. And the theory is, or so I've heard, that you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
It's 100% true.
So our first stop that day was actually in the UK pavilion, and we went to the Rose and Crown. I got a snake bite, which is Beck's Ale and Strongbow cider. I had them go a little heavier on the cider because I tend to like sweeter drinks, and I had them make it dark, which means they added some black currant puree.
Mm-hmm.
I would do that 100 times out of 100 times. That was delicious. Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I found out that snake bites are actually illegal in the UK because people can't taste the alcohol in them.
Oh.
So they get carried away. But as long as that's around, that will be my drink.
Right.
Yeah. And you had a amber or something or another.
Yeah. I don't remember what beer I had. It was good. I just remember thinking to myself, I should have taken advantage of their full bar instead. Instead of having a beer, I just felt like in the Rose and Crown I had to get a beer.
Sure.
But they also have a full beer. I could have done scotch. I could have done whiskey. I could have done bourbon, something along those lines, maybe that I would have enjoyed a little bit more. Because the older I get, the less I like beer.
It's just so filling and heavy.
Yeah. And so the beer I had was good. I think it was a Smithwick's.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Smithwick's Amber.
Yeah, something like that. It was good. It hit the spot in the moment. But looking back on it, I wish I had taken advantage of the full bar.
Next time.
Yep.
So then our plan for that day was pretty much just to explore the food pavilions in Epcot. And the first one that we went to, we had the it was beef Wellington.
Yes.
And that was served with some mashed potatoes.
And I remember us being a little disappointed by that one. It was good, not great.
But with that said, I think we were kind of impressed for the fact that it did actually have some pretty good flavor considering it was mass-produced beef Wellington in a theme park.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we were on both sides of the fence on that, where it was like, good, not great.
But it's coming from a food booth.
Right. So, we're not expecting 5-star dining here.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with that
and
assessment.
The potatoes were... I'm not going to complain about potatoes ever. The next thing we got was the pimento grilled cheese with tomato soup.
Yep.
And you said at that moment that you will never eat another grilled cheese with anything on it but pimento cheese.
And I have held true to that. I have not had a grilled cheese that has not had pimento cheese in it since then. I haven't had a grilled cheese since then, but
you're living into your word.
Living into my word.
Yes.
That was so delicious.
It was so delicious. And I was actually really impressed with the tomato soup.
Mm-hmm.
Tomato soup and grilled cheese is like one of my favorite comfort meals to go to. This tomato soup was different than most tomato soup in the fact that it tasted fresher and brighter.
Mm-hmm.
And you could actually taste like the bits of tomato in it.
Right.
It wasn't just run-of-the-mill Campbell's cream of tomato from a can.
Right.
Which I appreciated. A little bit later in the day, we went to the American Adventure Pavilion and we got the duck and dumplings.
And I remember that being better than we thought it was going to be.
Yes. I'm not a big game bird sort of person. Chicken's not game bird, right?
No.
Okay. So I don't typically appreciate things like that, but that was really good. I did enjoy that. The dumplings were good. And then we had a beer flight because America.
And
that was fine.
Yep.
And then we went to Japan and we got a treat that's available there all the time. We got the kakigori and we got the melon one because I'm spoiled. I know you were kind of leaning toward the strawberry or something, but we did get the melon flavored one and we got the condensed milk on top. And I will tell you, I don't know that I need to have the condensed milk on top every time, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with how consistent the flavor was all the way through.
Right.
That. Like with snow cones, it seems like by the time you get finished with them, you're left with either flavorless ice or a puddle of syrup.
Right.
But this, it went all the way through and was there from the beginning to the end.
Yep. And I think some of that was because they packed it in so tightly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was. I would get that again. And
Yeah, it was cool and refreshing, and yeah.
I am completely giving reviews that I absolutely hate when other people do it. So yes, it was delicious. As long as I don't say I would go out of my way for that, I'm fine. I'm gonna beat myself in the head if I ever use that as a review. I'd go out of my way for this.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, how much more out of your way can you get than 1,000 miles from home?
Right, exactly.
So the next place we went to was a place where we had what looks to be some pork belly and some spinach looking. Oh,
Yeah.
It was the pork belly with the raclette cheese and the broccoli rabe, which
Neither one of us liked.
no.
Yeah.
No. I didn't like the meat. I didn't like the cheese. I didn't like the vegetables. I didn't like any of it.
Yeah, it wasn't fit for my palate. I'm sure it's right for somebody. It just was not on my best of the fest.
Yep. And then that night, we did celebrate our friend's birthday, and she has been going to Disney ever since she was a little kid. And the restaurant inside the pyramid in the Mexico Pavilion, the Santa and Hell Inn,
Mm-hmm.
is where she chose for her birthday dinner because that holds a lot of nostalgia for her because her family would always go there. It is run by the same folks that run La Hacienda de Santa and Hell. So
Very similar menus.
similar menus, similar flavor profiles, I think. Same desserts,
Yep.
which I was happy about because I got my sweet corn ice cream again. But let's talk a little bit about the differences between La Hacienda and Santa and Hell Inn.
Yeah. Santa and Hell Inn was so dark
Yes.
and so noisy.
Yes.
We were seated at kind of a longish table. Again, there were 9 of us. I would have preferred for big groups to be at a round table so you can kind of communicate with everybody. Like, you and I had a different dinner experience than they had at the other end of the table because, and not that it was bad. Obviously enjoy the company we're with of all 9 people, but it would have been nice to be able to interact with the birthday person a little bit more than we were able to do. And because it was so loud, it's not even like we could talk down at the end of the table and be heard. And this is 2 4-top tables with somebody at the end of them, so it's not like you're that far away, but you could not hear what was being talked about at the other end of the table.
Right.
And it was so dark, I couldn't tell what was on my plate.
Right.
And I get it. The whole theme of the inside of the pyramid is a little Mexican town market area at dusk/nighttime. I get it 100%. That's the theme in the story. I wouldn't want them to change that. I think what they might need to do is put a little bit more powerful lights on the tables instead of like the little dim candles. Maybe put a little bit more light on the tables to give so you can see what's on the table.
And even on the menu.
Right. I am not old enough that I should have to get out a camera with a flashlight to read a menu. I had to get out my phone with my flashlight to be able to read the menu. And it was just overall good experience. Our server was good.
He was okay.
They were again, just felt very rushed.
Mm-hmm. And granted, there was a lot of people in there wanting to eat that night, and we kind of went at prime dining because it was right before fireworks.
Right.
But I think and I will say this as well, the dining plan had just relaunched. So I think there was a lot of new cast members learning how all of this was supposed to work.
Right.
And I think that kind of fell out of favor in our situation with some of the people in our group.
Right.
But I would hope, like, crowd levels and things like that never really changes that much at Disney.
Right.
So I would think that if the cast members had been there for any length of time, they would know how to handle groups like that.
Right.
And our server, dear sweet man, and I think he had been there for a while, but he just seemed overwhelmed. And it could be that he was just having an off night. We all have them.
Yep.
I'll still die on the hill that cast members are the magic.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah.
And that was one of those nights also where I felt like if I was a little less American and I was able to speak Spanish, it would have helped that night.
Yes.
I think he was having a little bit of trouble understanding us, and that could be some of the noise. I think we were having trouble understanding him because of the noise, and it didn't work out. Our experience was not the greatest because of all of those factors together.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think if I was just a little bit less, I'm a one language American, and was able to communicate maybe in Spanish a little bit more, it might have helped that night.
You're getting there.
I'm trying. I'm not going to plug the app we're using because I'm not 100% happy with the app we're using either. But yeah, I'm working on not being that American that can only speak one language.
See.
Gracias.
De nada. All right. So that was basically, I mean, as far as park days, that was it. That was the end of our adventures. But the next day, so we had flights delayed and changed and all kinds of things.
We all woke up that next morning we had a plan when we went to bed that night. We woke up the next morning, plans were ruined as flights were our original flight was canceled, and we were scrambling to get on another flight. It was crazy.
Chaos, but that did afford us, because we didn't have to go back to the airport quite as soon as we had originally intended. That did afford us one final trip to Hurricane Hannah's, which is the pool bar at Yacht and Beach Club.
Yep.
And I had my beloved Disney cheeseburger. I think you did too.
I think we split it.
Did we?
Yep.
No, you've got another thing with fries. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. But then we also made our way back to Beaches and Cream.
Yep.
And one of us had what looks like cookies and cream, and one of us had mint chip.
I'm sure I had the cookies and cream.
Yeah, that's kind of.
And I probably finished your mint chip too.
Probably, because I was still full from
the day before.
The week of eating.
Right. And I do live by the philosophy there's always room for ice cream.
I will prove that philosophy wrong. Overall, it was a great trip. I think we did get to try some things that we have not tried before.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the dining plan. And I know that we've talked about this before, but just real quick before we sign off for this episode. I don't know that I would utilize the dining plan again. Simply because we don't really eat like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so much food and it's so structured that you have to have an entree, you have to have a dessert, you have to have a drink. Well, in theory, that doesn't sound terrible, but when you've already been eating and snacking and all of these other things, you don't really want to cram all of that into a 1 to 1.5 hour dining situation.
Right.
But if you leave it on the table, you're losing money.
Right.
So I think what we're going to do in the future is probably just budget, find the cost of the dining plan, budget that out, and load it onto gift cards. And then that way we can order what we want. We can split something if we want to. We can get dessert or an appetizer or both if we want to.
Yep.
But we don't have to, and just pay for it that way rather than using dining credits.
Yep. 100% agree. And I the other thing that does is the dining plan. Again, I think there's value in the dining plan. We've talked about that because our opinion of the dining plan is shifting.
Yes.
So we've talked about the value in the dining plan being the convenience of not having to think about your food budget. But I think what us shifting to saying, hey, we're just going to basically build the dining plan ourselves and put it on gift cards, what that does for us is if we don't spend it all, we still have money that we can take back to the park the next time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just, hey, we didn't spend it all, or we don't have to go into the snack shop and get 87 bags of snacks.
Which they don't even allow you to do anymore.
Right. So there's the dining plan still, I think, has value. I might be willing to try the quick service one just to see how that does for us. But I think you're right that just build it out on, take $1,000 on a gift card and say that's our food budget for the week, our food and drink budget for the week, and call it good.
Now, I do think there is a lot of value in using snack credits for festival booth food. Because I think we did get a pretty good bang for our buck for that.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why I think the quick service would be good, because you get a quick service meal and a snack.
Yes.
So you could go use all of your snacks in festival booths and then just have quick service meals for your main meals, and then maybe choose 1 or 2 sit-down places if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, cool. Okay, anything else you want to talk about?
Nope, I think that's it for today.
Okay, come check us out on our socials, interact with us, tell us what you thought of this episode. Let us know what else you want us to talk about. We're in this for you. So make sure we're talking about things you want us to talk about. And remember, there is always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And we'll see you real soon.